In this section, you'll open and review the Products Starter project. Let's get an overview of the Products Importer project, our starter project. Let's look at the PubSpec dependencies. We're going to look at how declare the local shared package, how to declare the assets and images folder. So we have a wildcard of adding multiple images to that folder and declaring it only once. And the starter project main Dart file, which is the entry point to our application, you will declare there the dark and light themes, and also the way it changes according to the device settings between dark and light themes. The helpers folder, which will have the API URL file, which will declare globally the URLs that will be called for the RESTful API. The models folder, which will have the product model classes, which will convert the JSON API being retrieved from the API RESTful service and convert it into our class into easily readable data. All right, it's time for live coding review. All right, let's review our products starter code. And I'm going to go a little bit quicker than I did in the previous two sections because we're going to go review some of these items that are basically similar to the user's product, only the products has some differences. But in the next section, there'll be more differences and I'll spend more time on those. And also some optional scenarios. Because the main goal of this application, this whole project, is to be able to create similar applications and having a shared code base. All right, let's take a look at the PubSpec YAML file, right? We have the same thing, the shared path, which is to the local path in the local folder, which is not shared public for anyone else to use. It could be if you want to. And the assets. So we have the assets images folder. So any images inside the images folder will be automatically be able to be retrieved. And we will use the products image here will be part of the header on the list of the products, the list page. Let's look at the main page. Same thing. Debug show check mode banner equals to false. We have light and dark theme and the theme mode set to the system. Next, the API URL. It's still the same base URL, dummy JSON, but this time we're going to do what? That's right, you guessed it. We're taking the products. We're going to limit the same 50 records. And we're just going to skip 0, which means we start at the beginning. This gives you paging, right? And then the select statement, we only want these items: title, price, rating, category, and images. And then we expose the API base and query URL as the API base URL, right? Concatenated string concatenation with the API query URL, which will be the URL that we will execute to the RESTful API to return back our JSON data. And let's take a look at the product model. It is similar to the user's model, but with some differences in the fields, of course. Here's the array here, the square brackets, right? And we have what? An array of products, right? You can see here, and there's product number 2. But in this, we have multiple images. Okay, this is different from the user's model. For the products, we have the ID, the title, the price, the rating, the category, and then a list of images. How can you tell? Because you got square brackets. That's right. These are the images that will be brought in for each product. Okay. So the first class, the product model, is, yep, just like the user, you guessed it, a list of products. And then we're going to have the total, the skip, and the limit that is returned back. Again, we have our factories from raw JSON, from JSON here to raw JSON, and the product model from JSONs and to JSON, right? And let me just collapse that. And let's take a look at the product. So this is the product class, which actually it has the details on the product, right? The ID, the title, the price, the rating, the category. Look at some differences here. A list of images and a list of string because it has the URL to the images. Same things with from raw JSON to raw JSON. And then, of course, we have our blank default values, right? The product. Because when we first load, we don't have any product selected, so we just want to have a blank record on our detail screen. If you're on a split screen, you don't want to show anything there, okay? And there's your from JSON and to JSON, which we will not be using in this application. Excellent. Let's get a summary of what we looked at. Reviewed the pub spec dependencies, how to declare the local shared package, right? Declaring the assets and images folders. The main Dart file, which shows the dark and light themes, and it changes according to the device settings. The global API URL, which has the URL it will call the RESTful API, right? The models folder, which is the product model classes, which will convert the JSON API results into classes and fields that we can easily read. Now, up next, you'll be creating services and pages for the products project.